How's it going, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. So last week, I talked about a film called You Were Never Really Here, and it was directed by someone named Lynne Ramsay. And I had never heard of her before making that video, but I gotta say that she's had quite the impact on me recently. So today, I figured I'd talk about the film that came before that one, called We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Every day.
Based on the book of the same name by Lionel Shriver, We Need to Talk About Kevin, directed by Lynne Ramsay, stars Tilda Swinton, John C. Reilly, and Ezra Miller. Swinton's character, Eva, plays a mother who used to be a successful writer, but has given that up for the family life. Her kid, Kevin, proves to be a handful as he acts very strange towards her as he grows up while becoming more and more dangerous as he reaches the life of a teenager. What follows is a psychological dive into the troubled kid, trying to figure out why he ended up committing certain crimes. Now, at first, I really wasn't planning to talk about this film, but after viewing it, I just knew that I had to talk about it on this channel. Like I stated in my You Were Never Really Here review, I talked about how I really love those films that take a psychological dive into characters, and I'm also a very big fan of movies that decide to use no dialogue and just use scenes that are filled with so much emotion, character, etc. We Need to Talk About Kevin is one of those films that follows that concept for the most part, but the scenes that do include dialogue are equally as effective from the way they're shot and from the performances. It's another one of those films that really had me wondering just where exactly it was going to head every second it took. In the beginning, we see that Tilda Swinton's character is a successful writer, but she ends up having a baby, which she's not very happy about. Despite only being a baby, Kevin starts to act really strange around his mother, but not around his father. And it begs the question for Swinton, why is he acting like this? As he grows older, he starts to become a lot more hostile in his actions, which forces Eva to see if there may be something wrong with him. But as it turns out, he's a completely healthy kid. So now the only question that really remains is why is Kevin acting so nasty around his mother, but acting like a ray of sunshine to everyone else in the world? Well, I'm here to share my thoughts with you here today. And let's just say, the first person we need to talk about is Kevin. See what I did there? I don't know what it is about Lynne Ramsay, but let's just say that her casting choices have been on point so far. First time I saw Joaquin Phoenix in You Were Never Really Here, and now with Kevin at his different ages. Seeing how Kevin was portrayed by child actors for the majority of this runtime, I gotta say that I was genuinely surprised at how nasty they could be to Tilda Swinton's character, and there was absolutely no filter to them whatsoever. I mean, they love to use profanity whenever they want, their brains seem to be developing a lot faster than normal, and I thought that their performances were very impressive. At first I thought that these kids were just acting like brats, and I was ready to be annoyed for the film, but watching their mannerisms, actions, and facial expressions throughout this movie, it truly had me terrified. But obviously the best part about Kevin's character is Ezra Miller's portrayal. Seeing him play the Flash in Justice League and cracking horrible jokes, to seeing him in the role of a character like this was refreshing. The amount of range and talent on the guy is really impressive, and he displays it very well in this movie. Whenever he's around his mother, he has a mature attitude now, but he still gives off that vibe that he's mentally disturbed, and whenever he's around other people, he can still act like that little ray of sunshine, and act like everything's okay. Seeing the things that Kevin does on screen, as well as Ezra Miller's overall performance, I gotta say that it was very disturbing to watch. But I think it was perfect in developing the character, and Ezra Miller just made it seamless. Now, it's pretty difficult to talk about Kevin's psychology without going into major spoiler territory, so if you want to avoid them, I suggest you skip to this time frame. If you're still here, it's on you. 3, 2, 1, let's go. As I stated, from the time that Kevin was born, he already seemed to be acting very strange around his mother, but as he got older, it got a lot worse. What it seems to be is that Kevin is suffering from psychopathy, an antisocial personality disorder which can also come with narcissistic and sadistic traits, and a lack of empathy. When he cried as a kid, his mother frustratingly dismissed him, which seemed to have started it all. But seeing that Tilda Swinton's character Eva didn't want a kid to begin with, it also could have started as he was in the womb. This causes him to provoke her for his entire life while acting like nothing is wrong around others. From what I understand, it's all a charade since he's living in his own reality, and he seems to never show true empathy for others. A prime example being when he kills his sister's hamster and causing her to lose an eye with no regrets. And being trapped in his own reality, he eventually ends up killing his own father, sister, colleagues, and teachers in a Columbine-style massacre, leaving only his mother with no regrets. It should also be noted that the charade was done only because symptoms of psychopathy force the person to follow the rules of society, but not when committing their evil crimes. And in the end, it wouldn't be expected of them. Kevin was always seen as the normal kid to everyone except his mother. Ultimately, when Eva visits Kevin at the mental institute, she just flat out asks why he did what he did, and this is what he has to say.
I used to think I knew. Now I'm not so sure.
It leaves us, the viewers, with no real answer to why Kevin did what he did, and we just have to live with the fact, just like Eva does. It basically shows that both characters have given in to each other despite everything that's happened. Eva has been through too much to find answers and will love him regardless, and Kevin thought that his murders would be the best way to get the hateful reaction that he wanted, but it failed. And with the clever writing of Lynne Ramsay, I gotta say that this final scene left me shook. And I've seen this one question brought up many times for Kevin's actions, and that question is whether he loved or he hated Eva, and I can definitely see both sides of the argument. In terms of if he hated Eva, because his actions are so nasty towards her, it's assumed that from the moment he was born, he felt like Eva resented him, so he stopped at nothing to make her life a living hell.
Just because you're used to something doesn't mean you like it. You're used to me.
Even when she ended up having another child, it seemed like that jealousy in Kevin started to grow inside because she got more attention than he did, and therefore the hatred got stronger. After his murders, the whole town turns on her, and she's left suffering with that burden forever. She was his audience in a way for the whole charade he was putting up. In the case of loving Eva, she was the only one that acknowledged that Kevin had something going on with him. She also never wanted him to begin with, and that feeling could have been sent to him in the womb. At his age as a baby, he was able to sense that hate, but the dad never communicated and acted like everything was normal. Some people think that his nasty actions towards his mother is an attempt to get that acknowledgement of hatred that he wants, but being the mother that Eva is, she ends up putting up with it all and still loves Kevin the same way. There's a moment in the movie where Kevin ends up getting sick, and in his most vulnerable state, he goes to Eva to take care of him, and he ends up acting nasty towards his father, which really caught me off guard. But viewing the father, he still just shrugged it off as if it was nothing, further proving that he doesn't understand his own son. Kevin also gets upset seeing how Eva and the father get close with each other, as well as talking about the possibility of divorce. Kevin shows the anger in that scene, possibly because he won't be able to see his mother as much, and he won't be able to feed that ego of his. It really displays the narcissistic side in his attitude, as he's trying to get what he wants, as well as that early sadistic side that enjoys tormenting his mother. There's also another moment in the film where Eva ends up breaking Kevin's arm, and in the institute, Kevin ends up saying that that was the only honest thing that Eva ever did to him, and that pretty much proves that he knew that she hated him from the very start. When the sister was born, he ended up craving more of that attention from Eva, but as she gave more attention to the kid, it seemed like that was only because the sister was the normal child. When Kevin ended up killing his father and sister, we already knew the connection with the father couldn't have been real, and that he wanted his mother all to himself since she was the most similar to him in terms of being narcissistic. The two sides of the argument, I can see both sides, but I tend to lean more towards the loving side. Comparing both Eva and the father in the story, it is clear that the father loved Kevin, but he never really connected with him in a genuine way. Eva did end up showing a more nurturing side throughout the story, and it's really hard to call the father a good one considering the way he acted throughout this entire movie. In the end though, it's really up for you to decide which side of the argument you stand on and interpret all the events in this movie in your own way. If you stayed along with me and haven't watched the film yet, or read the book for that matter, I would definitely recommend either one to get yourself a better viewpoint. As for those that have seen the film or read the book, I would really love to know which side of the argument you stand on. Let me know in the comments below. How's it going? So if you skip to this part of the video, I would definitely recommend that you watch the film or read the book to get a better understanding of the spoiler-filled discussion. Now, apart from Ezra Miller in the story, I also have to give credit to Tilda Swinton and her performance. Every second she's on screen, you can see the suffering and suppressed frustration she has in her eyes. Being placed in a Lynne Ramsay film, I think she did a great job of using the no dialogue scenes to her advantage. You can see in her performance that she's trying to give all the love that she can give to her son, But at the same time, you can also see in her eyes that boiling frustration within. That, combined with some of the scenes with Lynne Ramsay's style integrated within, I think it made Tilda Swinton's performance a lot more powerful, and I enjoyed every second of it. I'm very curious to see which actor will be next to work with such an amazing director, because Lynne Ramsay's choices have been nothing but perfect. If I were to nitpick anything about this film, it would probably be the inclusion of John C. Reilly. But I'm not saying that his inclusion was bad, and in fact, his character did help to drive the story. I don't know what it is, but something about John C. Reilly being cast in a Lynne Ramsay film feels really off balance considering the types of movies that he's in. However, he's not much in the film anyway, so I can't really say it's a major complaint that I have. So yeah, overall, I gotta say that I really did enjoy this film, and in fact, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than You Were Never Really Here. I mean, what can I say? The performances were on point, the story was full of suspense and had many twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and the overall style created a great atmosphere to enhance the suspense. The psychological dive into Kevin was a very complex journey, but I'm honestly having a fun time thinking about the answers. They're answers that we're never gonna get, but at the same time, that's what makes a film so great to begin with. Films like these are able to leave you thinking about the answers forever, and you're also able to hear different interpretations from other people, which adds to the fun of it all. Films such as Inception or Donnie Darko are films that I still want to know the real answer to, but will never get, and I'm completely fine with that. If you haven't watched this film yet, please go watch it, because it's something to be admired, and the overall style of Lynne Ramsay does make this story 10 times better. It isn't as violent as You Were Never Really Here, but still isn't afraid to have a violent scene now and then, in case you haven't watched the film yet. Yeah, so I thought long and hard about what score I want to give this film, and I gotta say that I'm willing to give this film the benefit of the doubt, and Lynne Ramsay definitely deserves it. So, we need to talk about Kevin. You're getting 10 out of 10 bows and arrows.
Just because you're used to something doesn't mean you like it. You're used to me.
So I'd like to know, what do you guys think of We Need to Talk About Kevin, the film or the book? Love it? Hate it? Not care to watch it? I'd love to know in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more future movie content. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this review, and until the next one, you guys, I'll see you later.